where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals.
Welcome to the RDC meeting. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Can we please do our roll call?
Commissioner Lack?
Here.
Commissioner Ambler?
Here.
Commissioner Joswiak?
Here.
Commissioner Munt?
Here.
Mayor Bonta?
Here.
And Commissioner Vasquez? Here.
Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the minutes? And if so, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. We've got the claims. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the claims, and are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the claims?
So move.
Second.
Who did you catch for the second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We need a buzzer, like a game show. All right, we have our staff reports. Mr. Bowditch, I'm not sure if you got an agenda, but you mind going through just the things as listed on the agenda?
I will, and I will be brief on the items. I did ask, good afternoon, Commissioners. I did ask Sonia to ensure that all the items that we have been working on all month have been included on the agenda. So I'll go through them individually and provide a brief overview. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Under 6.1, and if the mayor would like to expound, please do. At last month's meeting, and I do see that Christopher Murphy is here from Structure Point, I will let the commissioners know as discussed, and I want to thank Christopher Murphy for scheduling and facilitating a meeting with INDOT on the Central Avenue Bridge project. That meeting took place on August 8th. If necessary, Chris can go into more detail, but the INDOT representatives were very helpful and very understanding, and will be assisting us and the city in what is necessary to continue to ensure that project moves forward. Under 6.2, On the Burns Parkway extension, we did have a progress meeting with SCH to go over where we are in the entire process of the engineering and design. We had another update this morning on the progress. It is moving forward. The mayor may have something to say on the READY grant that was submitted for the project. If there was anything you wanted to say on that, Mayor, or wait till later?
I think we can wait probably till a later spot, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then 6.3, city staff and economic development team did meet with Marsh on August 5th about geographic information system mapping for the city of Portage. That would include identifying parcels that are available for economic development, redevelopment, to identify various information for economic and redevelopment purposes. On 6.5, I have been working on the home TIF approval. I will have that process for you and submit it to you for both the Bauer Farms and Carlson Farms with the declaratory resolution, so that can be considered at your next meeting as a declaratory resolution. 6.6, update on the City of Portage owned property and raw data. I have made a request to the Portage Auditor's Office for information related to assessment data and ownership data of properties, so that we can identify and query information based upon assessment, city-owned properties, who owns them. We already have a list that is available with mapping. However, it would be good to have current information available for the city's records. In addition to that, while we were there, we did ask for information on all the tax abatements, the real property vacant building deduction or personal property abatements that have been issued and approved by the town city council, or I'm sorry, the city's common council. And because there is a resolution in place that states any abatement that is approved, there is an imposition of a fee under statute of 15% of the realized tax savings, and the designating entity of those savings is the Portage Redevelopment Commission. We are identifying and quantifying what that amount is to ensure that the dollars that were imposed on the companies were paid and that they were distributed properly, and we all agree to what that amount is. So I'll have a report on that for you next month also. And so that you know, the auditor's office and the assessor's office has been very helpful in their requests and assisting us with that information. And then 6.7, the commission work study session schedule had to be modified slightly. And I will, for the Irving, for the educational training grant, the school needed time, or no, it was the Irving Street trail, because the library is on a first-come, first-served basis. And so I will turn it over to Sonia, who is facilitating the scheduling.
I will have to email out dates that they have available. I'll have to talk to them tomorrow to confirm and pencil in a date, and then send it out to you guys to see if those are good. They go quick.
Right.
It goes very fast. Because we're going to probably look at 2 rooms just to make sure there's space available.
Right. But they are on a first-come, first-served basis, so we'll have to work with their schedule. But we'll get that work session scheduled sometime by year's end. And then lastly, I did receive, as well as the mayor and other city administration officials, that the Garrington property had some issues with vandalism, and I wanted to bring up that may be a executive session, if possible, on how a discussion on what needs to be done with the Garrington building, because vandalism seems to be recurring more at that site. So that is my list.
I have a question.
Yes.
About the Garrington.
Okay.
I know we had talked about a possible demolition. Is that still something that we'd entertain?
It could be on, my approach, from my perspective, would be to have an open discussion of all possible opportunities, whether that is from demolition for potential redevelopment to redevelopment of the property itself for rehabilitation and then active use and occupation of that facility. So I would rather leave it open to all alternatives at this time, but with the email that I had received, I thought it was important to at least bring it up for a discussion amongst the commissioners. It is a property of the Redevelopment Commission. There are some restrictions based upon the ownership from the school itself. So I think we need to take all that into consideration and come up with a plan.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That is my report.
So I know when we had the meeting with NDOT, they did a very great job, I think, going over all that, but we talked about having a timeline of how things are going to potentially be by this meeting. Do we have any update on that as far as, is that part of our agenda further down?
I don't believe, but is there any update from NDOT that you may have? Thank you. Structure point is, I'm sorry, I apologize.
You didn't do anything wrong, don't worry.
They are here, they were with us at the meeting, both representatives. They represented the city very well at the meeting and provided all the information necessary, so I wanted to thank Structure Point for that work, but they are here to provide an overview.
Thanks, Dan. Mayor. John Tucker, American Structure Point. I do have some updates since the last meeting. Contractor has mobilized the site. Both test piles are complete. We were anticipating it to take a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks from the meeting we had with NDOT. It actually took them 1 week. They had the road closed last Monday and then reopened at the end of the day this Monday. So both test piles have been driven. The data has been sent to the engineer of record, Benish, but everything is leading towards a successful test piles going with the timber piles. We're anticipating probably 45 to 50 footers is what was in the original plan as well. So no surprises on the test piles, which is very good. The progress meeting we had this afternoon, once the contractor has the piles ordered, which will probably be once we get the official report from the engineer, anticipated next week, then it's probably anywhere from a 30 to 45-day lead time for the production piles. But we'll also have an updated schedule at that time too. Right now, the schedule, we're probably about a month ahead just because of the unknowns. They'll have a better opportunity to fix that schedule better for the board as well in the city. For the work to proceed probably early to mid-October with driving 300-plus piles starting on the east side of the bridge where the crane is currently sitting off the roadway.
Thank you so much. How weather dependent is the project if we get into like the winter when it comes to phase one? Like, do we have an idea if they start in October? Which again, as noted, that's great on schedule if we keep it that way. Well, on the new schedule, I should say. But going into winter, what are we looking at as far as when things might start, stop, what have you?
There are definitely components that are weather dependent. With the concrete work, we have concrete caps on top of the piles. So at the beginning, it's driving piles and then the actual stone that we put in. I would say everything is weather dependent, but we have means of weather protection as well when it comes to the concrete caps. So right now we're looking to still proceed throughout the winter unless we have, there's a severe cold would be what would slow it down. But I would say there's every means of getting through the end of the year with that type of work isn't as weather dependent. It's come the first of the year when we have the concrete work that will be a little bit more, schedule could get adjusted due to the weather.
Northwest Indiana being what it is, December and January might not be bad at all, and then like March is when the big snow comes in. I don't mean that at all like as a joke. It's just, that's what we deal with,
Absolutely. So actually being ahead a little bit right now and be able to start in October as opposed to November, hopefully that'll be to our advantage with the weather as well.
Do you have an idea of if that all stays on track when phase two would be starting up when it comes to the road, or is that where we got to get through this part first before we come up with a timeline for that?
So phase two is on a October letting for NDOT. So right now we anticipate it still happening next spring, but we do still have the balance of the original work of the bridge job that will also be happening in the spring. So our goal is to have them at the same time next year, but as we get into the transfer platform into the winter, will be dependent on the schedule of Phase 2 itself. But everything's looking in the right direction today.
Any other questions? I know I'd ask about Phase 3, but I know that we got to get through 1 and 2 first to get that going. I'm just particularly excited about Phase 3 when it does come. But are there any other questions from the board?
Mayor, just very quickly, again, I know I've said this, but I wanted to thank Christopher Murphy and John for setting up the meeting, and for the mayor and Leanne Curran for being at the meeting also with NDOT. It was important. I can't say for a fact that it impacted the quickness and the response by the contractor, but it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. So thank you very much for your work. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. We have our new business, our old business, I'm sorry, but it's the discussion on the home TIF approval process. Mr. Cherry, did we ever get, I know I wasn't able to reach Dan yesterday despite seeing him all day today. Did we ever share the information we got with him?
Not yet, I have that with me, but we haven't gone through it.
We have some info for you, Dan. Nothing
Okay.
bad or surprising, just other
Okay.
people who had some info on home TIF and all that. But
Okay,
if you'd like to go
gotcha.
ahead and, get into where we are there.
And I will take that information, because being a new statutory program for the state, any new information that comes out is a precedent and is helpful, whether it's related to the approval process or the development itself, is welcomed. So my report on the approval processes, I had to defer that. We had a couple meetings today that I was preparing for on various projects, but I will have that schedule for you next month along with the declaratory resolution, so that we can get those moving forward as quickly and as expediently as possible.
Thank you so much. So we'll go into our new business. Chief Crail, we have a consideration for request of funds for the fire department, 8.1.
Good afternoon. I have a couple points of business really to talk to you about. Partially, just bringing up some of the things that we would like to spend the part of the $75,000 that was gifted to us. We do have some duct work at our north station that needs repaired. All the money still falls within the money that was already allotted to us. I'm just coming as a courtesy to inform you of the information that we intend to spend. $5,800 to fix the exhaust fan, duct, and grill modifications. It says grill modifications, but it's all the exhaust duct work for the station. Currently, it exits into the space, the void space just above the drop ceiling, and that's where it sits. It hasn't been connected for quite some time. We are wanting to reconnect that system so everything exhausts out of the building. Obviously, you can imagine that that's a safety issue. So that will cost $5,800. Again, that's part of the funds. The other part of it is purchasing new office chairs. We have not had new office chairs in quite a while. We've actually had two of our chief officers, while sitting in them, their chairs have broke. So we're just looking to spend approximately $2,000 on new office chairs. Again, part of that gift from the RDC, which we're very grateful for. Any questions on those two items?
Just a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
When I first looked at the chairs,
Yes.
I thought, $2,000 for one chair? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
So I'm glad it's for 6.
I like a cushy chair. Yeah, no, 2,000 for all. So the other portion that I am coming in before you tonight is definitely a little bit not as nice as the first portion. So approximately a month ago, we requested to open bids for a replacement of our HVAC system in Station 1 as a temporary warming station in the winter. The station was obsolete in 2001. When the station was opened, it was already an obsolete station. We did receive 2 quotes. We did request to take the quotes under advisement, which we did get some advisement on the quotes. We have decided on a quote, but we have not officially made that public notice yet. I do have the quote that we are looking for. What I am coming to you, and I do have copies of just unofficially what we are looking at. Yes, the South Station on Swanson Road.
Thank you.
As you can see, it's a substantial amount of money. We don't have that money in our budget. What I am here tonight is to see if the RDC would be interested in funding this project. And I am happy to answer any questions that I do, that you may have regarding the project. Tom Cherry is also able to give some insight with his previous experience, the age and condition of our current HVAC system in the station. The station is at 3401 Swanson Road. The station was built in 2000, opened in 2001. We have annually, we sink a lot of money into putting Band-Aids on problems that we need surgery on. This last winter, every morning we would have to come into the station and we would have to restart the blowers every day. It would be down into the 50s into the station, and we would have to restart the blowers on the furnace just to get it to start functioning again. Throughout the day, it would quit functioning.
I can add that the system's archaic, and the replacement parts they're putting on there they're not meant for that system, and I'm surprised it's working. So it's limping along.
I apologize to laugh, just the way that your voice is, Tom, when you go, surprised it's working, like it kind of, Tom, can I ask you, I know that we're talking about a particular, system in a fire station. Have we ever had the opportunity, I'm not trying to delay, but I'm asking the question of, have we looked at the HVAC in other, city buildings and, their needs? I guess what I wonder, not to jump to it, but is there possibly like I won't say an even better deal, but is there something to be said for doing a bigger project all at once? Or do you think when it comes to our other city buildings, it's just this particular fire station where it's this bad?
Well, from what I've seen, this is probably the worst system I've seen throughout the city, as far as age. One of the things I wanted to try to do is just get a clean and check on each system throughout the city before the winter. To try to assess and get a handle on what's going on, but, which we've never had before. It's just been spot work and spot fixing issues. There's been no real maintenance done on our systems collectively. So, as far as saving on a bigger project, it's usually when you're doing multiple projects at one location. That'll save you with getting everything there and getting manpower.
You wouldn't be able to apply that to like multiple buildings across the city.
Probably not.
That makes sense, but wasn't trying to cop out there, Chief. Just wanted to make sure I knew the whole scope.
All good. It's your job.
I was,
Can this be funded through allocation area, or does it have to go through general fund?
I would have to look at that only from the perspective of the statute's fairly clear that maintenance of buildings, it would have to be a building owned, typically a building owned by the Redevelopment Commission, but maintenance is typically not a tax increment revenue qualified use, but it would be from a general fund. So I'd have to look at that just to make sure. One of my questions was going to be, and I don't want, if it's okay, would be, do you need to have an answer today, or is this something where we can look
No.
at this and get back to you with a recommendation, or?
Yeah, I mean, we don't need an answer today.
Okay. But before the winter comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
We don't want to wait until
yeah,
January 21st when it's 4 below zero.
preferably not. And
We're hoping that
there's
the
a 4-week
project for
lead
the
time,
bridge
I
is going to be
believe.
good with the winter, being delayed, but we can't hope the same with the fire department,
Right. I believe there's a 4-week
4
lead
weeks?
time,
Okay.
yes.
And what's the time, if it were approved, how long would it take for the work to be completed?
I think they said, was it,
Oh, that quickly? Okay,
yeah, I think,
okay.
And they're also getting, it's gonna be a different system, different location, it's freeing up that space.
yeah, we are taking a system that was never meant for that type of location, and we're actually hoping to put a system in that is meant for
Right.
that type of location.
So if directed, staff can take this under consideration, provide a recommendation to the Redevelopment Commission members for next month, and I would defer also to Attorney Bartnicki to review
Already
it,
looking a few things up.
to make sure that any recommendation we make is within the statutory requirements and it's qualified expense. Yes.
I have a quick question. No bids? Like you don't take the lowest bid? It's just, we only have the one?
No, we do have two. We do have another one that you're more than welcome to see. It's significantly more. But yes, we do have, we did a sealed bid process. We only received 2 bids after advertisement and all
That was
of
at the Board of Works meeting, was that correct, Chief?
Yes, sir.
So the Board of Works handled the bidding process, but from a cost perspective, that's where they're coming now with what was the lowest bid, and then bringing that to us with the request for this.
There's not a lot of HVAC companies that are equipped to handle this job, so that's why it was limited to 2 levels.
Is this the same station that had the humidifier issue? You have to run the humidifiers to get the water out or something?
Yes,
Is this
so,
resolved there?
yeah, it's the same HVAC system. However, that issue, that with the humidity and the mold was kind of a separate issue because it didn't have any outside access. So we've resolved that issue, and that is squared away. Now it's the main system is kaput.
Would any of the gifted 75,000 be used for part of this?
No. There's not enough. I mean, we could use it, yeah, absolutely. But it would be a very small fraction of the gifted money would even cover this.
Do we have a motion on this or further questions? I think that the recommendation from the director would be to take this under consideration with legal advisement.
I'll make a motion to take this request under advisement for staff and legal review.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Rich Piazza, consideration change order number 2 for the library garden.
Mayor, real quick.
Yes.
When we're on the topic of the $75,000 for the departments, Sonia sent over a list, and it doesn't look like the Parks has put in for any of the funding yet. Can we,
I can talk to the park director and find out. It could just be that we've got a new park director and just might not know that.
yeah.
It's a really good point. To be fair, my first thought when I hired a new park director clearly wasn't, oh yes, let's make sure we tell them about the, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here to present change order number 2, which will be the final change order for Library Gardens. Here to answer any questions that you guys may have, but as of right now, this would be the final change order. This is the balancing change order to zero out all the items as planned to installed. and there's a little bit of a credit that goes along with it.
Are there any questions from the board?
Make a motion to approve change order request number 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then it looks like you're still here for 8.3, final pay app for the library garden.
Before you, I presented to you the final pay application for Library Gardens, which was zero out the contract, and this would be the final payment for the project. If you go out there, you'll see there's a little bit of work still going on. That is damage that was incurred by them removing some of the construction equipment. So they are fixing that, and it should be done by the end of the week. And then the only other item is there's a sign that goes on the bridge facing the parking lot that we're waiting on material on, but other than that, the entire project is complete.
Do we have any questions or a motion?
I have a question. So at what point will the Porter County Library take over all of the further expenses?
Mr. Bowditch?
That should be relatively soon. As far as I know, it should be.
I believe they
close.
already are at the moment. We're just
So-
paying our last end. Is that right?
The next step eventually, because literally, Jesse, the director of the library system, just emailed me. So part of the agreement that was in existence before this particular RDC, came to be in January, in looking at the old agreement, City of Portage and grants and the Porter County Library System were all supposed to come together and fund it. Portage agreed to pay for anything that wasn't covered by a federal grant. That grant money's already been transferred over. So my understanding of the agreement from last year is that what's not been funded by the federal grant is still City of Portage to pay. But then once these payments are done, then we are going to transfer the title to the property over to the library system, and then it's theirs. And then they're going to start picking up the expenses, but the rest of this particular change order and this billing cycle, it's still us collectively. So that was my review of all of this about 2 months ago when we were trying to make sure we secured the federal grant. Because there was that issue where we hadn't sent it over and we were up against the clock.
So
we
with
got
that
it.
point, are we past the clock now? I mean, is that to say that there's money that we'll get back?
No. So the trick here was that the federal grant program wants to give the money directly to the contractor. They don't want to send it to City of Portage and then have City of Portage, oh, yeah, we'll pay the contractor. No, they want to send it directly there. So some of the money was funded directly from the federal grant. They've already received that, is my understanding. And I see Sonia nodding, so yeah, because she and I were working very closely on this one.
So because we got that on time, we're not spending as much money as if
Correct.
we'd missed that.
So we were
deadline.
able to save Portage the hundreds of $1,000s that the federal grant funded, but we are still, quote, on the hook, which is a bad way to say it, but we're still paying for
We're a lot
the rest
less
of the-
on
yeah.
the hook than we
Yeah,
would have been.
We're a lot less on the hook
if-
than we were
And that's where
before.
I'm so thankful for everybody who found that and got that done.
Yep.
Thank
That
you.
was-
Yeah.
But we do need to talk about when and how to transfer the title, because that's going to be the next step.
We need to talk about that now, or do you
No.
mean? Oh,
No,
just,
that's staff work.
Gotcha.
The agreement's already in place. So there's nothing to vote on or anything like that. It's just a matter of how. Yeah.
and at this moment, like the library staff, they are operating like they're running.
Oh, yeah.
The place as
They're
it
running the
is.
programs and things like that. So
Right.
they just, Jesse had reached out and said, hey, when do you want to meet to start making that happen?
Right. It's logistical now.
Yeah.
Tying the
Perfect.
bow.
Yep.
On that note, are there any other questions or
Motion to approve final pay app.
there we go.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. We have Mr. Tucker for consideration of change order number 5, load transfer platform, Central.
Yes, Mayor Board. John Tucker, Structure Point. Change order number 5 is, as you all know, we've secured the funding through a change order earlier on. This is the actual change order to establish the unit prices for the load transfer platform. And I'm also on the agenda for the next item, which establishes the item for the force account work. We were able to come to terms with a few items with the contractor to set those. This is change order 5, and that's what we're asking for approval at this time. I would be happy to answer any questions, of course, for this change order.
Are there any questions?
What is the amount of the change order?
This change order is $172,767.14.
Thomas, staff looked at all of this?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. And then we go on to change order number 6.
Yeah, so change order number 6 is the force account item for this project for the load transfer. There were some items that, with the load transfer timbers, is kind of unique for NDOT, so there wasn't a history for established unit prices, so we are doing that under force account where we track them on a daily basis. So this change order establishes that force account item. Payment will be made to the contractor as they provide us all the necessary backup, certified payroll, et cetera. But this establishes the item. So if you see right now, it's set for $1, just because as we get the work done, then the number will be increased. But just as reference, between the two change orders, it's still the 1.3 for the overall estimate for the load transfer platform. So this established that item so we can officially have a change order for it.
This is just setting up the account, and then every dollar amount after it will be a separate change order?
No, sir. It'll set up the account, and every dollar would be part of this. We will include it, we will pay them through this line item that was established on this change order. And as that number increases and when it's finalized and all the paperwork is there, we will still have to probably present it to the board to say, here's your official price, here's the end, so you know where it is, with all hope that will be under the estimate with the being force account as well.
John, it looks like someone's about to tap you on the shoulder. Not sure.
That's fantastic. I can use the help.
I just had one question. Chris Murphy with Structure Point. Yeah, to you, John. I forgot to ask you earlier. The costs that are involved by change order number 5 and will be involved by the force account work in change order number 6, are all those costs eligible for 80% federal funding?
Yes, those are all eligible costs that were previously received with the funds. That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
Make a motion to approve change order number 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
No further, I was going to say any abstains. No. We have 8.6, consideration, Mr. Bowditch, Rose Pest Control, transfer agreement from Holiday Properties to Portage Redevelopment Commission for 6100 Southport Road.
So this is an administrative issue with the NERC Forum Building, 6100 Southport Road. Under the previous property manager, Rose Pest Solutions was providing pest solution services for the building, specific to various marmots, I would say, and ants, as well as other pest control issues that were provided. That basically, it's an administrative purpose to change the contract from Holiday Properties as the property manager to the City of Portage Redevelopment Commission as the owner and now property manager. That's basically, if there's anything for Attorney Bartnicki to add, it's transferring the contract so that we can pay the bill instead of Holiday.
There's no legal objection. It's literally just kind of a paper shuffle and just changing who is in contract with whom.
Right.
It just still requires our board approval
Right.
since we approved those things. I got you.
And it was under the property management
Yeah.
costs previously, so it's still being incurred.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I believe we have a couple things in the other business section. Mr. Ethgen, are you comfortable coming up? I shouldn't say comfortable. Are you ready? You know, I know you're always comfortable coming up.
I'm always comfortable. Yes, I'm ready. Well, actually, I'm not 100% ready. I promised that I would have the marketing agreement for the Southport building available today. I did not get that document done, but I would like to ask the board for permission for the mayor to sign that document once I get it done and Attorney Bernicki gets to review it and approves it, just to save another month's delay. So, had some issues come up today. I apologize for that. So,
And, yeah, just to state, so like this agreement, this is the marketing, type agreement for it. It's separate from an actual decision on what to do, but it
Right.
allows you to be able to proceed.
it allows me to proceed with marketing it, correct?
Make a motion to approve the marketing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have for tonight.
All right. Mr. Cherry, did you also have something, or were you referencing Bill? Oh, you must have something.
I do have some. I'll be quick. I just received a request, recently received a request from our development, future development partners up north. We did a parcel C wetland delineation, which we approved about a month or two ago. They're asking now for parcel E delineation study. The parcel C was 43.75 acres, which we did, and it was, the cost was not to exceed 6,500. Parcel E is 7.95 acres, so I'm anticipating about a fourth of the cost. I've got it scheduled, but I don't have an estimate yet. So I'm not sure if we could do maybe a motion for a not to exceed figure, because I need to get this in pretty quick, so, and moving.
Is there a recommendation? I think, well, it sounds from legal, but Alyssa looks like Bill has an idea.
Just one correction. Parcel E has two parcels, E1 and E2, and it's actually 10.
Oh, it's about 10, yeah, correct. So we're still about a quarter, just over a quarter, so.
And then from our legal end?
Yeah, I'm just it would be a motion to proceed with the plan not to exceed and just call out a dollar amount that we think, that the
5,000?
commission, that the
I
commission's
would
comfortable
say-
with.
I
Yeah.
would say that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
So-
Motion to approve with the delineation study for not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any other business? Oh, yes, sir, please come up. I say yes, sir, like I don't know him. How are you doing, though?
Just fine, Austin.
Good.
Good afternoon, all. Bill Kressel, Portage resident. As you know, we just finished up a pretty extensive discussion for the sewer rate increase that also involved some delay in the methods of communication. Just not recently, I've seen a wonderful increase in not only transparency, but communication from the city, but that is still limited. There were mail-outs. The city is very active on social media, and not everybody has the access or the ability to access the information on social media. Mail-outs are somewhat limited. What I'm proposing for the council to consider would be an LED programmable informational sign in front of City Hall. We have a city LED sign to the east of the police department. That's very nice cosmetically. I don't believe it's very effective as compared to the sign at Willow Creek Middle at Four Corners here. I would hope that the Redevelopment Commission would consider a programmable sign to be placed in front of City Hall that would reach people that don't have access to social media and whatnot. I believe it would expand the communication and connection with the goings-on of the city. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. People are going to think we're in cahoots because like that's actually something that I think would be a really interesting idea. But I think the question I would have, just as a thought, if that was an idea to consider, oh, and I'm sorry, I was going to talk to Mr. Bowditch, I'll wait. I'll just talk to the board. I guess what I would wonder about location-wise, is City Hall the best spot, or is an area at the entrance to like our Portage Mall? You know what I think is kind of funny is that every time that we talk about the Portage Mall, I mention that there's a sign there that says that, and plenty of people don't ever notice. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo type thing, you know? But we've really got, I think, at least two locations where I think what you're describing is a more expressive sign, something that's more than just text, but can do images, you know, kind of thing, you know, to be able to present more. I think that what I would wonder about is just kind of different examples of cost, you know, how they run. Mr. Bowditch, is there a particular course you'd recommend to looking into that? I mean, I think that we've got the ability to just, you know, let you know or let Tom know from staff that we'd like to, well, potentially look into that, but.
We can look into electronic signage for the entrance to the Portage Mall area. That would be somewhat dedicated, my thinking is be dedicated to Portage news and identify potential users or businesses in the area. It could be a revenue source also, actually, so.
Dan, are you familiar? And I'm not. That's why I'm asking, because I kind of pass it every time I'm driving in Chesterton. They've got like those big, you know, like informational, like electronic, you know, signs off the highway, and then one kind of over by like Indian Boundary Road. Like,
Right.
What was I even asking about with that? I guess I'm just wondering, like, if you know how that works when you're advertising business and things
Right.
on something that's city property, you know, versus
Correct.
when you're. Are there any particular rules about that we got to know, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
Well, it would have to be covered under the zoning ordinance and regulations, so we'll have to go through all, ensure that it's appropriate for that particular location, but, you know, height, size, character, yeah.
So as an RDC, we have to go to the Plan Commission if we build something
Sure.
like this? Really? Oh,
Sure.
no, thanks, Tom.
You don't
My
want to break
only-
your own rules.
My only concern would be to make sure that it's legible.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying that is the current Portage Mall, the font they used is almost unreadable as you go past.
There are standards for the size of the font to be legible from a certain distance. So I'm not an engineer that does all this or a person that is involved in it, but I know enough to be dangerous that normally what you would do is have an individual identify traveling east and west on the north side of Central, on the south side, going north and south to see what the distance is, and then that determines from the sign to that particular sight line, and that determines the font size, so it's readable. There is a science behind it. It's just that I know enough to be dangerous, but that will tell you what the sign is that is required to be read. Otherwise, it's the print at the bottom of a medical insurance commercial on TV, and it's spoken at that level. Just remember, any and all potential reactions can happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? And if not, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I think I heard Penny first, but I didn't hear a second. So we've got a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.